Hey buddy, it's your old pal Scott, and this is Let's Talk Tabletop. I'm known as a man with many, many Warhammer armies between Age of Sigmar and 40k, around 25-ish armies currently. Am I super rich to afford all this? Absolutely not, trust me. Am I a thief? No, I'm not a thief either. What I did is I was able to stay within my budget with wargaming and collect new armies. And a lot of my armies, such as my Tyranids and my Necrons and my Orcs, ultimately were free. $0. I'll just explain the loophole of how I did it, and maybe it'll help some of you. Let's dig in. So, as someone with 25-ish armies, I often get asked, how on earth did you afford that? Well, number one, I've been playing for 16 years at this point, so I've slowly accumulated them. But even that is almost 2 armies a year, right? Nobody has that kind of money, and I certainly don't with a wife and 4 kids and bills and all of that. So what I decided to do years ago is I would go on eBay and I would buy big lots of things for as much money as I could possibly cough up. And of course, I'd do the math first to make sure like what kind of discount off of MSRP it is and things like that. And I did that for many, many years, and I still do it to some extent to this day. And through doing that, I was often able to get really good discounts because of the bulk order of the bundle. And most people would stop naturally bidding like around a couple $100 or $1,000 for an army, at least back in the day. Around $1,000 was the cutoff point. And I promised my wife, I said, if I can net $0 for my armies, do you care if I take $1,000 and buy this lot? And she said, yeah, no problem. So, because she trusted me. Should she have? Come to find out, yeah, she should have. But it was still risky, right? So I took $1,000. I bought an orc lot that was MSRP for $3,000. Actually, a little bit more than that, $3,000. So I was getting 33% of MSRP. Well, I knew that if I broke up those units or characters individually and resold them, I could get between 60 and 70% of MSRP. Well, at that point, even with shipping costs and the eBay fees and all of that, I'm doubling my money. So if I'm doubling my money as far as how much I spent, that means I get to keep half of it if I'm aiming to break even. And that's exactly what I did. Over all the years, that orc, that $1,500 of orcs that I got to keep in mind, this was 10 years ago money for Games Workshop prices. $1,500 of orcs that I got to keep was basically my whole army. Hey, don't forget to check out my new release for rules adaptation for Brutality skirmish war game called Brutal Epic. It's 6mm kaiju and mech battles and army battles, plus the other mode of that is 28mm superhero and mech battles. Very, very cool. Go check that out at brutalityskirmishwargame.com. Now, of course, you're dealing with used items, right? So luckily, I'm someone that doesn't care about hobbying that much. I paint things and I'm okay at painting, but I don't like to assemble anyway. So getting used or broken or whatever miniatures is not really a big deal for me because I'd rather not assemble them anyway. I'll fix whatever's broken and that's that. But I made that work pretty well for my first Space Marine army, which I've since sold. My Chaos Space Marine army, which I've since sold and rebuilt differently. Because I started with so many armies, I actually started selling off these giant armies. I had 3,000 to 4,000 points of all these armies. And it just got to be too much, right? So I've been selling off my old armies and then just choosing a couple units that I like and buying new and just building that. And so now all of my armies used to be 3,000 to 4,000 points. Now all my armies are around 2,000 points. I've built basically what I want, between 15 and 2,000. I don't have multiples of every unit. I don't have any of that. There used to be a time where I wanted the entire army, but then I realized a lot of it didn't really suit my playstyle. So I decided to pare down. But my Space Marine army and my Chaos Space Marine army and my Orc army, and my Tyranid army, and my Guard army, and my Stormcast army, and my Nighthaunt army, and my Beasts of Chaos army, and my Imperial Guard army all of those off the top of my head were pretty much free. I mean, of course, I bought boxes here and there to add to that stuff, but so I did buy new stuff just basically to support my local store. But the vast majority of this stuff, you're talking by the time that you count all those armies, that's thousands of dollars that I would end up just getting free. And then if I was being especially conservative with what I was keeping, and I might only keep like one unit out of the entire army lot, then I actually could make money on the lot by selling 90% of everything I just bought at 60% off. And then I actually was able to bankroll some money from these lots that I was selling. And then that allowed me to have even more money to buy even larger lots. So I think the largest lot I ever bought was $3,000. And it was like $9,000, $8,000 of Warhammer. I mean, it was a lot, a lot, a lot. And that was many years ago, but that was because I was doing the whole side hustle thing, right? I was buying big at a low price and then breaking it up, taking the time to list it and ship it and sell it and all that. And the buyers still got a good price because they clearly they weren't interested in buying the whole army, but they got the units they wanted. And they got the units that they wanted at 40 to 30% off MSRP, which is still good. I mean, it actually works out for everybody. And if you're like the type of person that wants to stick it to Games Workshop and not give them any money, the best thing you could do is don't buy brand new. Buy used, because they're never going to see that money, ever. If you're buying new, oftentimes you're actually buying from a retailer online, and the retailer is buying it directly from Games Workshop, so the more you buy from them, the more they spend with Games Workshop. But if you want to stick it to the old man over in Britain, well, that's the way you do it. You just buy secondhand. And yes, some things will be broken, some things won't be the way they're supposed to be or whatever. But I made a pretty good run of it, and that's where I got basically all of my armies. At this point in my wargaming career, I'm not really making new armies. Matter of fact, I just told you I'm paring down a lot of them. I sold my Tomb Kings recently. I sold all my Chaos Space Marines and rebuilt. I sold all my Orcs and just kept my Grots. I have an entire Grot army now of Grot tanks and things. So I'm happy. And now I don't have as much junk sitting around, basically. Although it'd be hard to tell that from my background in my video. But so that is how I did it. I had at least 8 armies for 0 net dollars. Yes, it costs something up front. And I know not all of you can do that, but if you can afford $300 lot, or if you get a $300 lot for $100, you can start. And if you're careful and don't keep any of it, you could actually sell it for $200, and now you have $200. Now, please actually pay your taxes and things like that. The places like eBay will report what you've made, and you do not want to get stuck at the end of the year with a tax bill. So I'm just warning you there. Keep it on the up and up and don't get in trouble with the government. But anyway, that's how I did it. 25 armies over 15 years and cost very little money in the end. So thank you to all my beautiful, sexy, good-smelling Patreon patrons for supporting my show. And thank you to all of you for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. I'm on my way to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm pretty excited. So, I'll catch you next week, guys.